If you're buying these goggles thinking you're going to use the Racer field of view, my recommendation to you is hands down buy these goggles. All right, guys, what's happening? Sean Ames here from Heart of America FPV, and we're going to talk about goggles. Goggles. I've been messing with freaking FPV goggles for years now. I got pretty much every set that's ever been invented, it feels like. I know that's definitely not true, but it's what it feels like. And it can be mind-boggling. It's just always been a mess. It's always been a struggle to identify, like, what is the best goggle for you. And to be honest, I don't know what the best goggle for you is. There's no way that I can tell you what the best goggle for you is. But this last week, we were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the multi-GP Ice Storm race. Pretty cool. There were 60 some odd pilots from all over the world. Min Chen Kim was there. He dominated 5-inch. Heads Up FPV on 5-inch. Alex Vanover was flying tiny trainers. I was flying tiny trainers. I choked so hard in brackets, literally got last place in the top 16. But it was a great time, and to be honest, I've got another video I'm working on right now for like what happened immediately after that race, and I can't wait to tell you about that. But first, I want to talk about the new 533 goggle. So kind of a long story, a little bit of recent history when it comes to goggles. The industry standard, the goggle that like wrecked my world when I first got it is this one. This is actually one that's been bought and sold used a few times. I think Chief Alex FPV had owned this goggle at one time, and then I needed an extra set, so I bought it from somebody, and it's just kind of hung around for a while. HDMI is currently broke on it, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I might just keep it for analog ride-alongs. We'll see. But this is the HDO goggle. Prior to this goggle, pretty much everyone was using HD3 goggles. The HDO was the first goggle with an OLED screen. It also had a much smaller field of view. Personally, when I went from the HD3 goggle with a much larger FOV, and it like blew my mind. I instantly could objectively tell that I was flying faster. I was a better pilot. I could see the entire field of view of my camera, and the HDO was a great goggle. This goggle I held on to as like the king goggle for a very, very long time. I even attempted to go to the HDO 2. It had a huge FOV again. Did not like that. You could not scale the FOV. It also had a bunch of problems with like the focus adjustments would always move. The lenses would touch your eyelashes, which was literally one of the worst things that you could possibly feel. And so I bought the HDO 2s and I ended up selling them. I also got my hands on the original Orcas. Now, one of the things we learned at the Ice Storm race is that the Orcas are only rated for up to 10 volts. They will not take 3S, and these are now broken. I had loaned them out, and I normally use just a regulated cable, but we were thinking this was good up to 3S. It was not, apparently, and we burnt the screen. So when I first got them, I didn't like them because they had a huge field of view, and the fan was loud. They ended up fixing the fan, and they gave everyone a firmware that allowed you to scale down the field of view. That turned this into my favorite goggle at the time because I had a nice field of view that was pretty close to the same size as the HDO, but you had all the features that came with Orcas, like really good DVR. Styling is obviously very nice. You can get the Connect module that allows you to do a bunch of fun stuff with Ghost and that kind of thing. So this was kind of the champion for a long time. In the past 6 months, they came out with what I call the V2. It's this goggle. It looks very similar. It's not the same shell at all. It is a redesign of the shell, but this was a great goggle as well. The thing about this goggle is the big field of view was actually a little bit smaller than this one. I didn't mind that. I like smaller field of view. Some people did not like that. I think field of view ultimately is up to you as the end user, but this goggle had a big field of view and a small field of view. I tried both since this big field of view wasn't quite as big as the original Orca. I tried that for a while. I went to the smaller field of view and I preferred the smaller field of view in this goggle. And I kind of figured this is the premium goggle too. Keep that in mind. This is the premium goggle from Orca. It's got head tracking. It's got the bigger displays inside of it. And for a lot of people, this is their favorite goggle. You can see here, it's got both IPD adjustments and focus adjustments, and it still takes diopters, which is a pretty big deal for a lot of pilots because even some of the newer goggles that have come out that allow you to do focus adjustments do not allow you to have diopter insert. So this was the champion. This is literally the goggle that I went to the Ice Storm race utilizing. You would normally never, ever change goggles mid-race, and I made a mistake. A lot of people had these goggles there at the Ice Storm race. This, if you don't know, is the newer 533 version of the V2 goggles. I don't even know if that's the right thing to call it. I'm not gonna really even mess with trying to figure out the naming scheme, but they're white, and they are like the sister goggle of the V2 Orcas. And the difference between the V2 Orcas and this one is these natively have a smaller field of view than the Orca V2s. So the screens inside of these are smaller, and in fact, they are the identical size as what the small field of view is. Now, when I was using this goggle and I used the big field of view and I decided to switch to the smaller field of view, I still felt like the smaller field of view might in fact be a little too small for my preference. That was disappointing. Orca, if you're listening, what I've kind of advocated for a long time is a completely scalable field of view. So like you could be 100%, 95%, 90%, like literally like stair step down, because so many people have their own preference in regard to field of view. My vision is screwed. I have very, very weird vision. My brain only uses one eye at a time for the most part, and so can't really decide what your field of view preference is based on what mine is, because I'm weird. This goggle can either be a big field of view or a smaller field of view, and I'd been utilizing the smaller field of view. I had been told that this goggle had a smaller field of view than what this goggle did in regard to the smaller size. So that kind of made me think, well, I've already got this one, so why would I even mess with this one? And I made the mistake of putting these goggles on after immediately seeing these. And when I compared the two kind of just subjectively, these goggles in the smaller field of view, and I put these on, this screen actually seemed the tiniest bit bigger than the small field of view in these goggles. We tested it. Mondo did it, and it looked bigger. The white ones looked a little bit bigger to him. Yvonne, who's kind of like a goggle expert, you'll see him in a lot of Johnny Five's videos. He tried it, gave the impression that the white screen was bigger than the smaller field of view in this goggle. I came home, I tried to set up a bunch of different like test rigs, taking pictures at exactly the same distance from the screens. What I found out is we were all tricked. The field of view of the small setting for this goggle and the field of view natively for this goggle is literally identical. I did a little test rig. I'll share the clips right now, or the pictures right now. You can see that the field of view is literally identical between the two. But why does the field of view in the white goggles look so much bigger? And I think it's just literally an optical illusion. As you can see in the V2 goggles, it's cropped in, and so you see the whole size of the screen in an outline, but then you're only utilizing the middle. That is literally an optical illusion that makes that screen look different than what the white version does when every pixel on the screen is in fact being utilized. That's surprising to say the least, and also it kind of proves that our field of view preferences that we want to see in the goggle, they're not really scientific in the sense that one is going to be better than another, or one is a bit too big or too small or whatever. You almost literally have to just get your head inside of a set of goggles. And I suggest, if you have the opportunity, and I'm kind of in a situation where I can borrow goggles from people for extended periods of time because I'll make videos about them. So I get to test things sometimes for an extended period of time. You got to kind of make your own decision and put your face in a set of goggles and decide if you want a gigantic field of view or a smaller field of view, but you need to do that for a period of time, in my opinion, because if you're on a huge field of view and you go to a smaller field of view, that's going to be shocking for a while. It's going to be hard for your brain to develop an honest opinion of what it thinks of the smaller field of view. You almost need to like fly 100 batteries or more on the small field of view, get comfortable with it, and then switch back to the larger field of view and get in, kind of do the same type of thing. If you're a guy like myself and you like a smaller field of view, this goggle on the small field of view settings and this goggle on its native field of view setting are scientifically the identical size screen, but this one looks 1,000 times better. So if you're buying these goggles thinking you're going to use the Racer field of view, my recommendation to you is hands down buy these goggles. They're like $100 cheaper. There's no head tracking. Drone racers don't typically care about any head tracking. You get all the other great features that come along with Orcas, and these screens look phenomenal. You can even tell in the little test rig that I built that these are just crispier. They're literally crispier. And what that boils down to is that there are a certain amount of pixels that's in this entire screen and a certain amount of pixels that's in this entire screen. While these goggles, if you're on the Racer view, only utilize certain percentage of those pixels, not 100% of those pixels. These goggles are utilizing every single pixel. I just think that the displays inside of these goggles are better. Why else would we be so tricked? Everyone that we had do this A/B testing, literally back and forth, an instant test, which screen looks bigger to you. Everyone Everyone said these. Scientifically, I get home, I take pictures, and I found out that, in fact, they are the identical, same size, but these are so much crisper and cleaner looking. Like, I just feel like I can get these in focus way better than I could the racer view on these. Are these bad goggles? No. If you were coming from HDO2s and you tried these on freestyle view and you felt like the field of view was just way too small, my recommendation to you is to give it some time, fly for 2 weeks, and then go back to the HDO2s and make that kind of decision. But I believe that difference is shocking at first, but over time, you don't even notice it. Your brain plays tricks on you based on what it's used to. I didn't get paid to do this. I do get some discounts from 533 from time to time. I did not pay for these goggles, but then again, I'm going to give them back when I'm done with this review and buy a set of my own. So thanks for checking this out. Hopefully it helped you out. Let me know what you think in the goggles. Are you like a field of view snob like I am? Or, you know, what has your experience been with goggles? If you've made a drastic opinion on one goggle or another, how much time did you spend really utilizing those? So anyway, thanks for checking this out. We're going to catch you next time on Heart of America FPV. Later.